What's up, Space Apes? This is Hanley. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Today we're looking at the second paper published at Johns Hopkins University. Roland Griffiths is the lead researcher on this. It's a follow-up to the previous study. So if you want to check out my review of that study, click that link. All right. Mystical type experiences occasioned by psilocybin mediate the attribution of personal meaning and spiritual significance 14 months later. A quick, too long don't read of this is 14 months later, all of the positive benefits gained in the first research session were still being realized 14 months later. Okay. Psilocybin has been used for centuries for religious purposes. However, little is known scientifically about its long-term effects. We previously reported the effects of a double-blind study evaluating the psychological effects of a high psilocybin dose. This report presents the 14-month follow-up and examines the relationship of the follow-up results to data obtained at screening on drug session days. So it looks at 14 months versus data obtained on the day of the test. If you'll recall, one group was given oral psilocybin, the other group was given methylphenidate, and then those groups were switched. 58 and 67% of the volunteers, respectively, rated the psilocybin occasioned experience as being among the top 5 personally meaningful and among the 5 most spiritually significant experiences of their life. 64% indicated that the experience increased well-being or lifestyle satisfaction. 58% met criteria for having had a complete mystical experience. Of the measures of personality, affect, quality of life, and spiritually assessed across the study, only a scale measuring mystical experience showed a difference from screening. So personality, affect, quality of life, and spirituality remained unchanged. Having had a mystical experience is what changed. When administered under supportive conditions, very important, supportive conditions, psilocybin occasioned experiences similar to spontaneously occurring mystical experience that at a 14-month follow-up were considered by volunteers to be among the most personally meaningful and spiritually significant of their lives. Psilocybin has been used as a sacrament for centuries, possibly millennia, in structured religious ceremonies. Like other classical hallucinogens such as LSD, mescaline, and DMT, the effects of psilocybin are primarily mediated at 5-HT2A receptor sites. To the degree to which responses to psilocybin are influenced by non-pharmacological variables was not understood by early researchers. So the early researchers were putting people in a white room with white lab coats, and they were having bad experiences. And what these studies are looking at is the super important aspect of set and setting, where they are, how they're feeling before the experience begins. Human hallucinogen research largely ceased in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and has only recently resumed. In contrast to the aforementioned psilocybin studies conducted in the 60s and 70s, this study was optimized for positive value experience by providing 8 hours of preparation before the study took place and by instructing volunteers to focus explicitly on the phenomenology of the drug experience rather than performative tasks. So it goes over the whole study design, the methods, how it all broke down. I talk about all of that in my last video. Here's the 14-month follow-up. This assessment was conducted 14 months after the last session. All 36 participants completed the retrospective questionnaire as well as the previously described standardized measures. At the same time, volunteers participated in an open-ended clinical interview reflecting on study experiences and current life situations. An 89-item questionnaire comprised the previously described persisting effects questionnaire. For these items, volunteers were asked to rate any current persisting effects that they attribute to the experience. Volunteers were also asked to provide written descriptions of what was most memorable and what was most spiritually significant about the experience. So here's a whole statistical analysis showing the methods of the math that they used. Compared with methylphenidate, that's Ritalin, the psilocybin session experience produced significant increase in ratings of positive attitudes, mood, social effects, and behavior when rated retrospectively at both 2 months and 14 months. The ratings at the 14-month follow-up did not differ significantly from those of the 2-month. The ratings of negative changes on these same dimensions were very low and not significant across the conditions, showing that one single session of psilocybin created positive changes at both 2 months and 14 months, meaning those positive changes were sustained. I'm just going to read a few of the verbatim comments from the volunteers. The understanding that in the eyes of God, all people were all equally important and equally loved by God. I've had other transcendent experiences. However, this one was important because it reminded and comforted me that God is truly and unconditionally loving and present. The utter joy and freedom of letting go without anxiety, without direction, beyond ego self. The knowing was so powerful and yet personal, experiencing the beloved and falling in love. The experience of death, which initially was very uncomfortable, followed by absolute peace and being in the presence of God. It was so awesome to be with God that words can't describe the experience. The profound grief I experienced, as if all of the pain and sadness of the world were passing through me cell by cell, tearing apart my being. It opened my third eye. I could see many spiritual beliefs that I held, and link them. A more cohesive and comprehensive spiritual landscape became apparent to me. I felt as if tons of information about what is was being downloaded quickly into my knowing, understanding. Although the generalizability of the findings is limited by the study population, who were hallucinogen-naive, well-educated, spiritually active, middle-aged adults, it is remarkable that an 8-hour laboratory-based intervention could have such large and sustained personally and spiritually significant effects in such a large proportion of the volunteers. Yes, truly amazing. Notably, none of the assessments of personality, affect, quality of life, or spiritually conducted at screening were predictive of the correlation with which the ratings of spiritual significance and follow-up, and only a few of these measures significantly correlated with ratings of personal meaning. And what they're saying here is that it was very hard to predict on other life factors if the psilocybin was going to create a spiritually significant experience or not. The high personal meaning and spiritual significance ascribed to the psilocybin occasion mystical type experience prompts consideration of whether such effects could be used to facilitate treatment of some psychiatric and behavior disorders. Descriptive research suggests that naturally occurring instances of dramatic positive behavioral changes are sometimes associated with spontaneously occurring transformative psychological experiences, frequently of a mystical type variety. Consistent with this, observations in early studies with classical hallucinogens that examine treatment of drug and alcohol dependence and psychological distress associated with advanced cancer suggested that the occurrence of a mystical type experience played a key role in positive therapeutic outcomes. When administered under supportive conditions, psilocybin occasioned experiences similar to spontaneously occurring mystical experiences that, over a year later, were considered by volunteers to be among the most personally meaningful and spiritually significant experiences of their lives, and to have produced positive changes in attitudes, mood, altruism, behavior, and life satisfaction. The ability to prospectively produce mystical type experiences should permit rigorous scientific investigation about their cause and consequence. And may psilocybin and mystical, I don't know what that means. So, a quick summary here in my own words. A single session of psilocybin produced long-lasting spiritual significant experiences in a group of healthy, normal volunteers. What these two studies did is they laid a baseline for future research for both treating psychiatric type disorders with psilocybin and for enhancing the life experience of healthy, normal people. Pretty amazing stuff. Space Apes, so thank you so much for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. I hope you liked this study, this video. If you would like more of this in the future, just subscribe down below. Make sure to throw me a like, thumbs up. It helps broadcast the channel wider, and we'll be catching up with you again soon. Peace.